Hey everybody, it's Rosie, and today I'm showing you how I made my favorite character, everybody's favorite little angel, Teenage Detective Riz Gukgak. He had a little gun before that was right here, but it fell off, so I have to re-glue it. And he's got his little briefcase, but I connected it to the stand and not him because I wanted it to be able to swivel, because I wasn't sure which way I'd want it to be, if I wanted it to be like in front of him or to the side of him. And so I was like, I'm just gonna make it part of the stand since he doesn't need a stand to stand up, so that he has one, but then the briefcase can be however it wants and I can still move him. So that's what I did. I'm not gonna talk too much about him because you're about to watch a whole video about him and why he looks the way he does. But Riz is definitely my favorite character, I will admit that. Murph himself is my favorite in most of the campaigns, gotta say. Not the hugest fan of Cody so far, but you know, I've only watched a couple episodes. Cody might warm up to me. But other than that, Theobald and Cugrash, Murph is always my favorite because I'm a fan of how he plays the game. But Riz Gukgak is definitely my favorite of all of the favorites. What else is there to talk about? You might notice that I have a different background situation happening today. That's because I filmed all of the other intros for my other Fantasy High videos like weeks ago, and I did one for Riz, but I decided I'm gonna redo it right now because I have some new information to share. So, and my backdrop just freaking broke for some reason. My wall does not want a blanket taped to it anymore. I mean, pinned into it. So, no backdrop, just my room. This is the room. So, as I said, I've got some more Funko Pop updated information, but I will share that after. So, without further ado, here's how I made my favorite guy. Starting off, I have this Jughead from Riverdale Funko Pop because he was already wearing a hat, so his hair is kind of tucked in a way that I felt looked pretty natural. And Riz is usually drawn with his hair in kind of curly and poking out of his hat, so I liked this look. And the body was great for Gukgak, so it was just all around worked. The body got stuck in the head, so I had to cut around because I hadn't really figured out the best way of doing this yet at this point, because the body for Gukgak was one of the first things I did. And this is why in the Gukgak video his neck is all weird and glued on, because this happened. And then while I wasn't using it, I just put the broken off neck peg back in the head and put it off to the side because I don't want to lose it. Next thing, I sanded off the hat, not because it really mattered, but just because the plastic that is the vinyl is usually pretty smooth, and so the rougher I can make it when I'm sculpting on top of it, the easier. So I just flattened down the head as much as possible because I sculpted a new, like, newsboy hat right on top of this, and sculpting that was, I don't film it, but I just put a bunch of clay on and kind of sculpt it like a mushroom. Next thing, I take off his eyebrows because all of the other ones where I changed their skin color, I use nail polish remover to take off the eyebrows, but all of the other ones, I had to like go over the part where their eyebrows were extra times because their eyebrows were poking through, and I learned on this one to take the eyebrows off first, and then I wouldn't have to paint things extra. Next, I paint his skin green. Took me a while to come to this mixture because it kept being a little too dark or a little too this or a little too that, and I came to this and I liked it at the time, and then in hindsight it's a little too minty for me, so I'm not crazy about it, but I just kind of reached a point where I was like, I don't care, this is the color that I'm using, I'm done. And this color actually was a little bit more what I was looking for, but I thought it was a little bit too dark, so I ended up going over it again with a lighter color, and the lighter color is what made it a little bit over the edge of just kind of a mint green, and I feel like Riz is more of a lime-ish color than a mint. But it's not the end of the world. It's not like he looks horrible. The hat was really just smoothing down a giant lump of clay to look like a mushroom, and then I gave it a lip. Next, I paint all of the black portions of his hair that same light green that his face is, because I tried to paint just straight green on top of the black and it just was not showing up really, and I would have had to go like a lot of coats. So I just made all of the hair this light color so that the darker green would go easier right on top. And the dark green's just like a foresty green. I think that's forest green, I'm not sure. I'd call it a forest green. Now I paint his hat a dark brown. This is the same dark brown that I use for all of his clothes. I give him those classic Funko Pop Soulless eyes, obviously. These always, like, it's so hard to, it takes a long time because you have to be really slow to, like, make it a perfect circle and not make it too thick. Like, the paint layer too thick. And not go outside of the circle. It's harder than you'd think. Now I paint the yellow shirt and tie white. I give him a dark brown vest and pants. I make the shirt white, more opaque, and then later I paint the arms white because Riz wears a vest, not a coat, and I give him a brown tie. Now I give him green hands and a green neck, and I painted the little, I don't know if it's a phone or a beeper or what that is, that was on the Dwight body on the belt, but I painted it white. And I write in Sharpie LPI on it for Licensed Private Investigator as a kind of nod to Riz's little business cards, which I loved. They're part of why Riz is my favorite character. Just going up to the kids on first day of school being like, here is my business card, please be my friend. It's like, it's iconic and relatable. Then I make him a little briefcase, the little briefcase that Fabian got him in season 1 as a reference for like a Funko Pop briefcase size. I got out my little, I don't know if that's Fred or George Weasley, whichever one of them is holding the briefcase, but I used it for a size reference for making this. And then I give it a little handle, and I write TB on the front. In my mock-up that I had originally made on Photoshop, I wrote RG on the briefcase, and then the Dimension 20 Twitter page actually commented on my post and corrected me, telling me that it was TB for the ball and not RG for Riz Gukgak, and that was pretty cool. And I feel like that shows how much of a nerd I am, that I was like, oh my god, they corrected me, that's awesome. I paint the entire briefcase black, obviously, and then I use gold to go into the inlay of TB. Now here is the finished head, body, and briefcase. I tried to give him a kind of like inquisitive look with his eyebrows. I think he just kind of looks angry. And then this is the gun that I took from the Nancy Wheeler Funko Pop, the body of the Adine one. And I just use the vinyl glue that I have, and I stick it right in between his fingers, which granted is not the most natural way to hold a gun, but it's where it fit on the Funko Pop, and I wanted Riz to have a gun, so these are all the finished pieces. So that was him. You saw it happen. I'm not the hugest fan of this color that I ended up with, but I reached a point where I was like, I don't care anymore. He is just this mint green color. So I would have preferred him to be a brighter toned green, more like this scrunchie I got going on, like a more bright green, because that's kind of what I associate with Gremlins. But the best I could do before I kind of just got sick of it and wanted to move on was this mint green color. And it's fine. It's not like a problem. So, update news. So I will have a new Funko Pop video talking more about my new Funko Pop plans and everything that I'll be making. Hopefully it'll be out next Tuesday. I make no promises. I've been horrible about updating all of these. But I did make an Etsy shop. It will be linked down below. I'm going to talk about that more next time. But you can buy all of these guys on my Etsy shop. Not these ones specifically are mine, but I will make you one if you want to buy it. And that is in my Etsy shop down below. I have some new Funko Pop videos that will be coming out soon. Like I said, there's the next video. And then I have a couple more Funko Pops that I'm in the process of making right now that those will be out after Christmas. I can't say what they are yet because they are gifts, but I'm very excited about those. They're coming out pretty nice. And in my original Riz video, because it was always planned for being the last video, and that's why it's a little bit longer, because I'm gonna have more pictures of like all of the group together at the end instead of just the pictures of him. But I always planned on it being my last video, so in the last one that I already filmed, I talked about how these were really fun to make, but I didn't see myself doing it more. And that was like a little over a month ago that I finished all of them, and I've been working on putting out the videos. And in that like month, I've been like, I just have nothing to do. And so I decided that I would open an Etsy shop and make them because it's fun. And I'm gonna stop myself before I talk too long because that's not what this video is about. I'll talk about that next time. I might even just film that next video now. But Fantasy High really did kind of introduce me to Dungeons and Dragons. And I realize it's not the most like faithful to how a lot of people play Dungeons and Dragons. It's for a show. It's like different things that they just make up that, to my understanding, more people play Dungeons and Dragons more traditionally than Fantasy High is, where they have like crystal cell phones and vans and things. But I've always kind of wanted to play D&D. I've still yet to ever play a game of Dungeons and Dragons in my life because I've just never had the friends to do that or a group or anything. But ever since I was little, I've always wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons because it always sounded really cool and like my dad used to play. And so it's always been something I've enjoyed. And then when I saw this series come out, I was like, what is this? I kind of like College Humor. I really liked Brendan. I really loved College Humor back when they made like the Jeggings videos. But then I kind of like went back and forth with College Humor because like some things I think are funny and some things I kind of think are a little overdone or just a little meh. But then when they hired Brennan, a lot of their content got funnier, and I was like, this guy's great. And then I was like, what is this? Is this a D&D campaign with this guy, who's my favorite part, and with Emily and Murph, who I love? And I watched it and I immediately fell in love. I was going on a road trip with my mom, and while I was driving, I was like, you know what I'm gonna watch or listen to? I'm not gonna watch it because I'm driving, but you wanna know what I wanna listen to? And so it was hours, and I just listened to the first few episodes of Fantasy High, and I was like, this is amazing. I love this show. So, Fantasy High, I love Crown of Candy, and I think Unsleeping City is fantastic, but I think Fantasy High will always be my favorite because it was my first kind of glimpse into the world of D&D, and so it will always be kind of special to me for that. And Riz will always be my favorite because Riz is my favorite on him. Riz is the only character that I remembered to give special ears to. I meant to give Fabian and Fig special ears, and I just completely forgot to, so. Now, before I ramble too much, before this video becomes the very, very, very longest, I'm just gonna leave, and I'll talk more about Funko Pops in the next video where I talk more. I just keep repeating the same things over and over again, and I don't know. Until next time, where I will have a lot more to say, apparently. This is Rosie and Riz, signing off.